what do we have with the executive branch this month?
It
So,
is the continuation of the Iran conflict.
right.
And for those of you who have not looked or seen our special edition that we did about the War Powers Act, about the executive utilization of military forces, as Lou said, go back to the YouTube page. You can find it, watch it, learn it, live it, love it.
Yeah.
Um,
Everything that
but
we discussed still applies.
but here we are, and the hostility started, I believe, February 28th. So we're
Mhm.
60 days out. Um, there have been reports of, at least at one point in time, some negotiations which didn't last long. There were reports of a second round of negotiations which doesn't seem to have gotten off the ground at all. Um, I think everyone can understand and appreciate the fact, I hope, um, that most of the Iranian hardware, aside from drones and small boats and things like that, but the large hardware, missile launchers, missile sites, large boats, um, their air force has been relatively decimated at this point. And people are whining, complaining, screaming, protesting, whatever. And they're saying, President Trump said he wasn't going to get us into another war. He wasn't going to do this. And we're going to invoke the War Powers Act. For those of you who didn't see it, or just as a refresher, if Congress does vote to invoke the War Powers Act, they can tell the president to stop affirmative uh, military actions. But the statute says that after such a vote, if it should come to pass, he still has 30 days before any cessation pursuant to that congressional order. I know that Lou and I, we chatted about it before going on air. No offense to people who would want to invoke the War Powers Act. I think you do more harm than good in doing it. But Lou, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, thanks, Rob. I agree. I mean, I think it's something as we were discussing off air, before we got out, before we started recording, that the War Powers Act invocation of it and passing of it, while it may achieve a short-term goal of, okay, we're going to stop the offensive actions. It's actually, if you want to resolve matters peacefully, is actually antithetical and and is going to completely against that, because what it will now encourage, I mean, at least in my, and this is again my estimation and my reading of the facts and talking to people still in the system, still in the military, still, having their giving me the pulse of what's going on, that gets enacted within that 30 days. That means you're going to now have, where Iran's whole system has been wait and see. They will just wait out everybody because that's what their game plan is. They're patient. They don't care if their people are suffering. They will do what they want and they will wait out till the end.
They've
If
already
they're
killed
what they're
20 or 30,000 of them last month.
right,
What do they care?
right. So what they're going to do is they're going to say 30 days. We could wait 30 days, at which point now that gives President Trump, I've got to achieve everything I want within 30 days, which means, based upon what I've heard and the information I've read, is that means that you will see forces going back in, missile launches going back, happening again, air sorties and strikes going back in, because what they want to do is they want to level whatever they can. And you're going to see them go in and try and make sure that there's no ability to have any type of nuclear development. And the only way that they're going to do that now is not going to be through negotiations, is going to be just blowing shit up. What you have is, then people are saying, oh, well, the blockade, because as we've talked about, or as you've seen in the news, we've set up a blockade. That blockade is meant to stop resources going into Iran and their ability to export oil. And so by that, they're losing something like $400 million a day by the inability to export any oil or any goods out of Iran, as well as to bring goods in. What that means is that the War Powers Act isn't going to change that. That means that the Department of War could just say, "Oh, your strike group, this is your new station. This is where you will be. Instead of carrying out operations here, this is where you're going to be sitting." That the embargo will still, the blockade will still go on. That's just, that's my nutshell on it. But I may be completely wrong. Hopefully, we all pray for a peaceful resolution. Nobody wants to see anybody put in harm's way, but that's not our decision. This isn't something that we can decide at this point. We've done what we can. We're hoping for negotiations, but honestly, I haven't been overseas and been dealing with some of the people over there. I don't see it. I don't see that happening. But that's our discussion.
Yeah, and we'll see what comes of any vote under the War Powers Act.
Right. They've had
And
3
obviously,
already.
obviously whatever comes down the pike is going to be in the May 2026 monthly docket.
Right.
So keep tuned. Just
Keep tuned.
keep tuned. A time in which, like we said in our special report, the War Powers Act has been on the books since 1973. And despite all of the military interjections, actions
Operations.
that have been put into play since 1973 by the United States government, not once has it even been. I can't remember a time in my lifetime, and I'm an
War
old
Powers
fart,
Act has never been
that it's ever been
enacted.
brought up,
Right.
and now we're gonna have votes on it. So interesting times,
Yes.
but I'll leave it at that.